Hi everyone, so we're going to be making a map. It'll look something like this where we have that little pinpoint there. This is just the map of downtown here. And we're going to put a little pinpoint there on waterfront. And then we're going to make a little line. We're going to pretend we have to take the SkyTrain from waterfront and then it goes down through Vancouver City Centre all the way down to Yaletown. And then you can see that little red circle because that's the end point of where we have to get to. I'm going to show you guys how we can set up the code this way so we can get this. So first off, I'm just going to open up a brand new Visual Studio Code and I'm going to open terminal and then I'm going to just create my project with Next.js. And when this shows up, do you want TypeScript? I'm going to say no. ESLint, no. Because I have the newest version of Next.js, it will be for the newest version, which is 13. So we're just going to run this application once it's done downloading, and you'll see it's the newest version of Next.js. Okay, and then I'm just going to drag and drop this folder here. And I'm going to go on my index.js. And here's where we have the basic code here. I'm just going to open a new terminal in here. And I'm going to run it just to test it, make sure it works. npm run dev. Alright, so we have to go to localhost 3001 in order to see the default template. So this is what Next.js 13 default template looks like. So now what we want to do is we're going to be placing a map inside here for us to use. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to organize this code so we don't have that much to deal with here. So let me organize this a bit. I'm going to delete everything inside the main. And for the main, you should just have this default template like this. So this is what the default we're going to stick with right now, just something empty. We don't need anything fancy right now. And if we just go to the actual web page right now, you can see it's just going to be blank because we have nothing added to it yet. Next, what we want to do is, I'm actually going to be using this thing called React Leaflet. So I'm going to show you what this is. React Leaflet, I know it says React, but we can still use it with Next.js as well. So here, there's an introduction installation process. I'm going to leave this link down in the description box below for you guys to see it, but it's a great free resource for you to use a map without having to create your own like API key, like when you have to use Google Maps. So if we go in installation here, we have to install and import a few libraries that we need to use, and it does work with TypeScript as well. But we're just going to do the installation process first. So I have it here actually as to what we need to install. So I have the Next.js code that we're going to be using to install the dependencies. And what we're going to do is here in the terminal, I'm going to end this server. And then inside here, I will just be installing Leaflet, npm install leaflet react-leaflet. And if we go to package.json, it's going to be added right here. So if I enter now, we'll see it'll be added to our dependencies. And you can see here we got leaflet here, leaflet here. We got it all set up. And there is one more thing we need to install as well in order to make it work, because for some reason it has some issues with the marker, the pinpoint marker. So we have to install the leaflet default icon. So we're going to do npm install leaflet dash default icon dash compatibility and then dash dash save. And then we're going to just hit enter. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to also be making a components folder. And in this components folder, I'm going to be making the map functionalities. Now inside our components folder here, we are going to do two things. We're going to make an index.js, and then we're going to make a folder, call it map. And then inside map, we're going to make a new file and call it map.js. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up the map here. And in order to set up the map, we need to first import a few things. So all we want to do first is let's import leaflet slash I'm going to import a few other things for the default icon as well. So I got the default imports set up here. So what we're doing is we are importing all of these different parts for React Leaflet. So this one here is basically, we're going to be using the map container that Leaflet is using. So the Leaflet, if we go here to the documentation, we have all these different imports. We can just import it all on one line. But we have different items that we could import. So map container is the main container that contains everything. Then we have different tiles and layers. So here when we go next, we can see here that we have a map container. And in this map container, we have some sort of center, which is the coordinates, latitude and longitude here. And then the zoom, how far in do we want to zoom? Then if we want to allow scrolling with the wheel on our mouse or not. So these are all the different basically components that we can add on, and in order to just make it look like this. And we're going to add this type of marker right on the map as well. So let's go into actually creating this. So what I'll do first is I'll add a style in the home.modules right here, style home.module.css. I'm just going to go all the way down here, and I'm going to make a dot map here because we are going to add a map CSS, and it'll be a width of 100% and then a height of 40 rem. So I'm just adding it to the bottom of home.module.css in the styles folder. Then I'll go back to map.js, and I need to start setting up the actual map. Well, actually, I first need to import the style. So import style from. So right over here in the return, I can do map container. And in this map container, I'm going to have a bunch of stuff, but I'll do one thing at a time. So first off, we do need the tile layer because this just gives, we have to add this one right here, just because it gives them, it allows other people to know that there's other contributors, and just giving acknowledgement to React Leaflet and the open contributors, and to all the contributors who are helping make this work. So we have to add the tile layer to it. So just add, copy and paste this tile layer inside here. We don't need to change anything. And we're going to add a marker. So the marker is that little pinpoint right here. So that little blue dot right there, it's going to pinpoint where we want. And I'm going to pinpoint it exactly on Waterfront, which is in downtown in Vancouver. And I'm going to have marker position. So what I'm going to actually do here is I'm going to add a position up here so we can reuse this constant variable over and over again. And the position will be right here. So these are the coordinates for Waterfront Station in downtown Vancouver. And I'm just going to use that position constant, place it right in there. And then inside this marker, all I have to do is just call pop-up. And in the pop-up, when I click it, it'll say SkyTrain. And then on another line, I'll say Waterfront. Something like this. So let's save it, and then we can run this. Well, actually, it's not going to work right now because we haven't imported it yet. So in order to do this first, we have to go in the index.js here in our components. And I'm going to have to export this first. So I have to do import dynamic from next.dynamic. And then I'll do export default function. So right here, what I'll do is I'll do const map is equal to dynamic import. I'm importing the map that we just created. And then I have to set SSR to false. And then I'll export default map. I can remove that semicolon there. And then I will save it here. And then I can go into the actual page's index.js. And here I will import the actual map. So I'm going to have to import map from, I have to go into components, and then I just have to call map, the map folder. Well, actually I could just call components, and then I'm actually going to move this index.js inside the map because it's actually part of the map component. So I'm going to do this. So inside the map, there's going to be index.js and the map.js. So in index.js, I will just have it as /map right there, because this also make it all one component. And then what I'll do is that in this index.js, I will, okay, it's already importing now from components and then /map. And then here, what I'll do is I will just call the map component now. And I think that should be okay. So let me save it here. and I'm going to actually have to run it again. npm run dev. Alright, so let me inspect this. So we still cannot see the map, so let me see what exactly is missing here. So the main thing we are missing is we didn't import the styles here, or we didn't add the styles here on the map container. That's why it's not even showing up. So class name, we have to add an actual style here that we just set up before, so style.map. And then this style.map is coming from what we've imported here in the home.module.css, which we have right here, the .map. We just set the width and height. That's why we can't see anything. So now that we set this up on the main container, we still need to add center. We have to add the actual coordinates, that's why. So we have to add position, and then zoom is equal to, I'm going to make it 14. I'm going to make the zoom 14 here, and then scroll wheel zoom is equal to true, so we can zoom in and out. So make sure we spell it right, scroll wheel zoom, and save it. And now let us go back to the actual browser, refresh. And you can see right here we got the actual map showing for us. We have downtown, and if we scroll in, you can see it's actually exactly on waterfront right there. That's exactly what we want. And now what we need to just work on and worry about is just adding the lines and whatever else you want to add. It's up to you. But I'm going to just add the green or purple lines, so then it shows like the pathways to where we need to go. And the next thing I need to add is I'm going to add a polyline, and make sure that is uppercase, because this is something that we are importing from Leaflet in order to actually make this drawing. And I'll close it. And the path options, I'm going to be setting up, it's actually going to be purple option. I'm going to set up a color for it. And what I'll do after this is I will also have to add the positions for the polyline. I'm going to call it polyline, which I can reference later up here. And the polyline will be a bunch of information in a multi-dimensional array. So I'll have to do constant polyline is equal to an array of information. The first one I want to put is this coordinate right here. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to add a few other lines. What the next thing I want to do is I want to, if I refresh the page here, nothing's happening yet because we don't have a beginning and endpoint for a line, but we want to map it all the way to Vancouver City Center here. So a line was going to be drawn from waterfront to Vancouver City Center. I already have the coordinates, so I'm just going to type it in. And I will copy this. So this is the coordinates here for Vancouver City Center. This one is here for waterfront. Save it. Let's double check. Okay, and you see here that we actually see the purple line now. It's starting to come along and it's starting to work. So the next thing we want to do is we want to draw a line from Vancouver City Center all the way to Yaletown Roundhouse. So I have the coordinates for this one as well. I'm going to copy it and paste it in here. And I'll save that. So if I'll refresh it just in case as well. But you can see here that we have the actual pathway that we want to travel to from Waterfront all the way down to Yaletown Roundhouse now. And the last thing we want to do is add that red circle that's around Yaletown Roundhouse, so we know that that's our ending position that we want to get to. So let me add that in now. I'm going to do another color for the ending. It'll be a red option, so red option. So next thing we want to do, we have a circle marker. The circle marker is something that's built in. We've imported from Leaflet, and the circle marker will just make a circle wherever we want the coordinates to be. And in order to do that, we have to call center, and then that will be equal to the coordinate of the position. And the position that we have, it's going to actually be this position right here. So we could make another constant, or I could just put it in directly like this. I'll just do this for right now, and then I'll do path options equals red. Red option, and then I'll have a radius of 20. And then here in the pop-up, what I'll do is I'll say pop-up in circle, or I'll say you reached your destination. So I'll show you how this pop-up portion works as well when we click on the certain areas. So I'm going to save it, refresh. I'll refresh the page just in case. And I'm going to click on this little pointer where we start at Waterfront, and it says here SkyTrain Waterfront. Then I click at the end here, and it says you reached your destination. So you can see that just by creating these or importing these different lines and different circles and stuff, we can actually mark certain areas on the map. And I know it's a little bit, like, I know SkyTrains don't necessarily go just directly straight, but you can also play around with all that stuff. But this is how you essentially interact with the map using Leaflet. And this is actually a great, easy, and quick way of creating a map without having to go through all of the API keys that you need to grab from Google. But like, there's a bunch more different things you can do. You can create different shapes, so you can like highlight major areas or something. So that's another option as well. So this is essentially what the code will look like. I will be putting a link to GitHub so you could reference it as well, and hopefully this helps you out.